So now we're looking at problem 13, and this is an absolute value problem. To word the absolute value, once the absolute value is by itself, you can take the bars away and set it equal to whatever the original was set equal to, and then the opposite number of that. Well, so you may be thinking, can I set the 3 minus 1/3 w minus 7/6 equal to 1/3 and negative 1/3? Well, that's sort of the right thinking. But before I do the positive and negative version of what I set it equal to, I want to again make sure that this absolute value is completely by itself, isolated on one side by itself. So right now it has a minus 7/6 on that same side, on that left side of the equal sign. So let's move that. And the 1/3 plus 7/6. So if you're using a calculator like what we have in the math lab, to do that 1/3 plus 7/6, just open your parentheses, say 1 divided by 3, close those parentheses, and now we're going to hit add, and we're going to put that second fraction in parentheses as well. So 7/6. We get 1.5. I want the fraction format of that. If I press second and the PRB key, by pressing second first, it lets me do the fraction decimal option. So second PRB, that gives me 1.5. That's a mixed number. I would rather have the improper fraction to where it's not a mixed number and the denominator is bigger than the numerator. So basically, if you get 1.5, if you get a mixed number, there's one more step. Press second again, and instead of pressing PRB, press the key underneath it, the ABC key, and it changes that 1.5 to 3/2. So I can say 3/2 equals the absolute value of 3 minus 1/3 W. So the absolute value is isolated on one side. It's completely by itself. Now I'm ready to write the inside down. I'm actually going to write it down twice. And you will set it equal to 3/2 and negative 3/2. So we are looking for W. And the 1/3 is multiplied by W. But before I can get in on this close relationship right here, before I can start dividing by a third, there's something out in the front that's, again, what I consider baggage. So that's a positive 3. So I'm going to subtract it. And I will get that negative 1/3 W, don't forget that negative that was with it, equals, and I'll just do this one in the calculator for you again. Let's come off to the side. So that's 3/2, so parentheses, open them up, 3 divided by 2. Close your parentheses, and then we are subtracting 3 from it, and negative 1.5. Press second, FD, that gives you the negative 1.5. Press second, and the key below that, PRB, FD key, so the ABC key is what I call it. So negative 3/2. So I'll put my negative 3/2 right here. So again, I'm looking for W. And that's negative 1/3 times W. You got two options. You can either think of this as dividing both sides by negative 1/3, or you can think of, instead of dividing by a fraction, you can multiply by their reciprocal, which is negative 3/1. And both of those that you can do in your calculator. But dividing by a fraction and multiplying by the reciprocal, that's the same thing, okay? So let's just multiply by the reciprocal, and that would be numerator times numerator, so negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, and 2 times 1 is 2. So there's one of our answers. The other answer, this is a negative 3 halves minus 3. I'll just do it in my calculator really quickly. And I get negative 9 over 2 equals negative 1/3 W. Don't forget that negative with the 1/3. And so again, you can either divide by negative 1/3 or you can multiply by the reciprocal. It's the same thing. Negative 9 times negative 3 is positive 27, and 2 times 1 is 2. So there's our second answer.